eXp Realty, where every agent becomes an owner of a multi-billion-dollar company with no debt. I mean, hello, everyone becomes an owner of a multi-billion-dollar company with absolutely no debt. Everybody gets to share in the revenue.
Profitability. Most of them
and profitability. Exactly.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am so excited to introduce Stephanie Gilezan. We're going to pop out to a quick 20-second message and be right back. Do not leave. This is a baller agent you've got to see. All right. Good morning again. I'm Tim Hollenden with the Hollenden team at eXp Realty. I'm here with my good friend, Stephanie Gilezan. Good morning, Stephanie. How are you doing today?
I am doing amazing, Tim. I'm so excited and feel so special to be here on this amazing Tim Hollenden show.
Well, thank you. I feel special that you're here. I woke up at 3:30 this morning thinking about all the questions I want to ask you. And I ended up deciding, we could probably build a little mini series. We have so much we could talk about. Your career, your history is so impressive. I just couldn't be more excited to get into all of that. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I know you did like $300 million worth of sales last year. You got $1 billion. That's right. Billion with a B, ladies and gentlemen, in listings right now. Just incredible story. Take us back to 1999 when you first got your license at 21 years old.
Oh, Tim, I tell you, it seems like a century ago, right? I mean, 24 years in the business almost, but it's exciting. Everybody thought I was crazy to jump, from college graduation right into real estate. But I saw this opportunity. And even though everyone kept saying, you're 21 years old, who's going to use you to represent you in real estate? Well, I made it happen. I knew nothing. I had bought one house. I was 21. I bought my house, but I hadn't done anything else in real estate. And so I just thought, okay, well, here's what I know. I have huge drive. I have huge expectations. I want to create a solid, living opportunity, and I want to control my own destiny. So I'm just going to learn how to outwork everyone in this business. Doesn't matter if I don't know as much. If I answer my phone more and if I hustle more, I'm going to win the business. And that's exactly how I approached it. And that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, huge drive. That's the understatement of the century.
That's right. Nobody's more motivated than me.
And you had a passion for commercial and tried to go that route, as I recall. Tell us a little bit about that.
What was horrible about back then is that a 21-year-old walking into commercial brokerages, bunch of old men, Tim, bunch of old men that were like, what do you think you're going to do? And they said, you need to go do houses. You need to go sit in open houses. I couldn't find my place at any of those firms. Nobody wanted to teach me anything. And so, I ended up kind of having to figure that out for myself. I landed at a brokerage, an independent brokerage. Good friends of mine that I'd gone to high school with, their dad was in the business. And he said, look, you can come here. You can do whatever real estate you want. I'm not going to be able to show you so much on the commercial side, but looking and seeking those opportunities, that's how I got involved in the land development aspect, doing industrial deals, concrete plants, you name it. I carved my path into that. And to be quite honest, I was learning a lot from my clients at the time. But because I answered the phone, because I figured it out, I was constantly educating, reading, figuring out what I needed to do to be successful. That's kind of how I carved my way in the whole commercial path. And so, I had years where, I'm representing developers, I'm representing industries that wanted to come into the state of Kentucky, I'm representing office complexes, retail strip centers, any of that, especially the new growth aspect of it. But, if I had always said, if I had found that spot at that commercial brokerage first, it would have excelled a whole lot quicker. So, I guess I come from the commercial real estate background of hard knocks and figuring it out, right? But we learn most from our failures.
Exactly. fail forward fast.
Yes, fail forward fast. That's a great
But
one.
there's a bunch of commercial real estate brokers out there that wish they'd have given Stephanie Gilezan the opportunity.
It's probably it's true. Some of them have passed and they're gone. But there's several of them that are still around, and that's exactly what they say. Man, we misjudged you, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always gone into everything that I've done, whether I'm representing a client or a new agent coming to me seeking advice as to if this is the career for them. I never judge a book by its cover. I think that's the hardest lesson that we all have to learn, is you cannot judge a book by its cover. Because you don't know what they're made of until you put them to work and see, what they're made of.
You're so right. Well, let's break down your career into the components, the different stepping stones that you took, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I went to an independent firm. It was very short-lived. I was in an office of a handful of agents that were pretty much could all be my grandparents, I guess. There was one computer in the office. And so I found myself showing them how to use like print shop and different softwares to like build actual brochures on the computer versus what they were doing, which was taking a picture of a property, going to Walgreens and having 45 of those pictures developed and then pasting it on a sheet of paper. I'm like, what is happening, right? College taught me how to use a computer, use some of the softwares that were coming out. I mean, lots has changed since 1999 even, but I just couldn't imagine, doing business. So a very short while that I was at that firm, 6 months, I decided I wanted to start my own firm. If I'm going to do the work, if I'm going to teach myself, I'm going to start my own real estate firm. But in the state of Kentucky, you had to be a fully licensed, active, full-time agent for 2 years before you could even go to broker school.
Right.
So I found this amazing person who didn't do a lot of deals. She was full-time real estate, but maybe doing 3 or 4 transactions a year, but she had a broker's license. And so I encouraged her to be my business partner, so to speak, so that I could open that first real estate firm. So at 21 December of 1999, we opened up the first firm. I couldn't put my name on that firm because it wasn't, the way you could, Kentucky wouldn't have passed that. So we started that firm, and slowly but surely, I'm getting into all aspects of real estate. I'm doing high-end luxury development representation. Then I'm meeting these builders because, once I brought a piece of land to a developer, then I needed to sell the lots. And so I'm getting into all aspects of real estate and really a resumercial style. She's my broker. She's, owns a small percentage of the company. And then as 2 years go by, I am, able to get my broker's license, and then I take full control of the company. That company became about a 45 agent office. The average agent in that office could be my mom or dad. Because I was the 23-year-old broker owner, and the majority of the agents were 40 years old or more, which was fine because I was hustling. They were attracted to the hustle. A lot of them were second, they had already had another career possibly. And so they were going into real estate as their second career. And they were just looking for somebody that could say, okay, if she did this fast, I want to learn that from her. And so that's how we built that firm in Prospect, Kentucky, which is in the same building that my office is today. We built that. In 2003, I think it was, I got to look up here at the board. Yeah, 2003, I was NAR's top 30 under 30 years of age. I think I was, let me look at my thing, I'm cheating. I was 25 years old. So I got that when I was 25 years old. So, by the time I was 28, I felt like I had done all kinds of things in real estate. And I had, but I was 28 years old, right? So one of the things that ended up happening to me is that because of the success and because of the volume of sales that we were doing, both on the commercial and the residential spectrum, I started gaining a lot of attention from franchise brands, Remax, Keller Williams, Realogy, pretty much all the brands.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always had a rule, Tim, that even if I'm not interested or I don't think I'm going to do something, you always listen and you always see. So my rule is you have to walk through that door and you have to see what's on the other side. Because even if I had no plans of ever becoming a RE/MAX, which I never did, I need to see what my competition is doing. As a business owner, and all of us in real estate, whether you're a broker owner or you're just a real estate agent, we're still our own business owners, right? Because we're independent contractors. Absolutely. We need to understand what the tools are out there. We need to understand what these companies are doing. And so you owe it to yourself to keep yourself educated. And so I looked at all of these brands. A lot of these brands were going through this transition in the marketplace where their average broker owner was in their 60s. And so they're looking for younger talent to kind of take it into the next, decade, so to speak. Right. Ultimately, I did become a franchise owner. I was part owner in a KW franchise, one of the first ones to launch here in Kentucky. KW was a phenomenal company. It was just not a fit for Stephanie Gilezan. I think a lot of us look at, okay, if we're independent, how do we get to the next level? My brand here on my screen says it all, Gilezan Global, brokered by EXP. That's what I was looking to do. I was looking to take my brand that I had done a phenomenal job in this marketplace of Louisville, Kentucky, but take it on a more national level. And I believed that if I affiliated with a national name, that would happen. What we never realize is that in those models, you're still an independently owned and operated company. And I felt like I bought into the name, but when it came to the growth, when it came to the agent training, when it came to daily operating a full-blown office, when it came to the attraction, the recruiting, when it came to all of those things, it still sat right here on my shoulders. And it wasn't the answer for me. So in 2008, I sold out of that and went back to being independent and had Gilezan Realty for another decade. We competed in the top 10 in volume of sales, and we had about 8% of the roster that some of these other large companies had.
Yeah, what a story.
Yeah.
So KW wasn't a fit, and you've described why. Basically, you were too independent for it. I'm going to paraphrase and say. So back to your brokerage. What did you grow Gilezan Realty to? I know because you and I came together around 2018, you'll get to that, but what kind of volume was Gilezan Realty doing at the time?
It was, I loved it because in 2017, we were number 9 in the market. And, we had 23 agents, and our volume was greater than some of the firms that were 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th that had over 100 agents. And so, after I was part of a larger franchise model, I decided that it was time to retreat back for me. I wanted to get into developing myself. I wanted to, get into the building business. I wanted to still set the world on fire as far as real estate goes, but I wanted to have a moment because in 2008, I was tired. I was just about 30 years old, but I was whipped. I was so tired and I was unhappy. And so on purpose, Gilezan was made up of agents that needed very little of my time. They didn't expect me to stand in front of the room and coach and teach them every step of the way. I was a damn good broker and I was there to solve their problems, but I wasn't there to build their careers, so to speak. And I needed that time. Right. I needed that time to just retreat back and focus on me. And then get, my plan together as to what we wanted to do. And for 10 years, it was phenomenal. We created, and it would have still been phenomenal to today, but, then this EXP, model finds me. And, the first conversation out of the gate was, no, I'm not going there again. I'm not going there again. I've already done it once. I'm not going to do it twice. I'm not going to make this move. And until, like I said, you got to walk through the door to see what your competition's doing. I took a meeting. I sat down. I let the entire model be explained to me. I dissected it. And I said, wait a minute. This is what I was really hoping. This was my plan in 2004. This is what I was looking for in 2004 that they told me it was going to be, and it wasn't. EXP was finally that answer, because what I had always been looking for was a way to take Gilezan and put it on the national stage.
Right.
I couldn't do that in an independently owned and operated office. Just because I bought into a national name did not make me national. It made a market center in another county or another state. It didn't work. But with EXP, it was this one brokerage. It was a way for Stephanie Gilezan to be open in all 50 states. And everybody's like, well, that's BS. How could that be? And it's because of that one brokerage model and license portability, and why commercial real estate is my passion and my team's passion. This was what we were looking for. I never got off the ground as large as I have today, because when I was Gilezan Realty or KW or Camp Gilezan Realtors, I was only licensed in the state of Kentucky, and that's all the business I could do. When I wanted to take on these large commercial transactions, I had to do referrals with brokers in those states to service the client. And come on, commercial real estate can be extremely ruthless.
Yeah.
You introduce your client to another broker that you can't control because they hold the license and you're at their mercy. They'll either kill the deal, take your client, or maybe sometimes it'll work out and you get to a closing table. But what I was doing was giving up half or more of my money in order to do that transaction. I wanted a way to empower Gilezan to be everywhere EXP was open for business and keep all of my commission. And so that's why we have excelled. So it'll be 5 years, February 5th, it will be 5 years. We've gone from 100 million in sales up to 300 million in sales to $1 billion in listing. And our goal, our team goal, I don't know if we're going to get there, but every time I put something on recording and hold myself accountable, everybody watching, hold me accountable.
You got it.
Our team goal is to do 3 billion in sales over the next 18 months. And that's huge. And everybody's like, you're nuts. But you know what? That's how we've gotten to where we are, because we've set these goals. And we're finally at a company that supports that enables that keeps us growing, especially when you look at the other 24 countries that EXP's open in, and we have those opportunities now as well.
Right. Well, you and I are more similar than I think I'd realized. My background was RE/MAX. I never owned an independent brokerage like you did for a big part of your career, but I jumped right into the RE/MAX ownership and did incredibly well. And my mindset was the same thing. I didn't want agents that I had to wipe their noses and everything else. And, I wanted experienced agent, and that model was beautiful. I wasn't looking, and to paraphrase what you've said differently, we don't know what we don't know. And that's why you've got to walk through that door. And you're smart to have obviously done that and hugely successful in EXP. So if you had to boil it down to a sentence or two, why did you move your brokerage to EXP?
Tim, I always lived with a fear of, if something happens to Stephanie Gilezan, the principal broker owner of Gilezan Realty, what are my kids going to do? What are they going to wake up to? Who's going to take it? Who is going to step into my shoes and keep that brokerage going? Oh, and make sure that all those commissions and all that business I built got to my kids. I always lived with that fear. It was when people say what keeps you up at night, that was always my answer back then. Okay. And my husband's in the business and he's phenomenal, but he never did the whole broker license thing, and he never managed agents. That wasn't his wheelhouse. He's a producer. He wants to focus on that. He didn't want to step into those shoes.
Right.
So that was number one. But number two, and you said 1 or 2 sentences, so I apologize up front. because I didn't keep to the rules, but also to elevate, to become bigger than what we already are. I love Louisville, Kentucky, but traveling and doing these listings, and if the market fell out in Louisville, Kentucky, I don't care, because we're booming in Oklahoma. We're booming. You know what I'm saying? Like, to open up your footprint. I'll never forget training agents way back in the day, standing in front of a bunch of rookies and saying, declare your farm area. Declare your farm area, right? Yeah. What is going to be your farm area? And them looking at a map and pointing on a few, zip codes or a few subdivisions or a few whatever.
City.
Putting the push pin on a city. Well, today, our farm is the globe. And that's what it can be. And as that independent owner broker, I couldn't do that. I am not going to go get licensed in 50 states. I'm not going to go open up an office. I'm not going to be able to have the right oversight. I'm not going to build all those back office systems. That's what EXP is for me. It is a platform. It handles all the back office. It handles all the licensing. It's got all the compliance so that we can go do what we want to do, which is produce at a massive rate.
And loving life in the meantime. Well, I thought you might have answered that question that way. Really, we haven't talked about this before, and gosh, we've known each other for years. But and again, similar, that was my why. Why EXP for Tim Hollenden? Because when I was 49 years old, I had major heart surgery. And I'm like, holy crap! What if I don't make it?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to all my agents? What's going to happen to the family? I mean, clearly we have insurance and all that, but no, you don't want to leave just insurance to your family, right? So, and I was never leaving RE/MAX. Totally, completely happy there. Didn't know there was anything better, but you walk through the door and you find out. So let's move, unless there's anything else you wanted to follow up on those topics. Let's move then to you moved up the EXP corporate ladder incredibly fast. And I won't go into all the rungs you climbed, but I want to focus on, you played a huge role in building EXP Commercial. Let's talk about that, and then take that to the commercial real estate listener and talk about license portability and transportability and what that really means. Because I would wager 90% of them don't even know what that means.
Absolutely, they don't.
Are referring a deal to their sister franchise in another state and getting a little piece of the action. So
yeah, absolutely. And working at corporate, I mean, and everybody said, what, you worked at corporate? Yes, I worked at corporate, not because I needed a job. I never needed a job, everybody. But for some reason, when we joined EXP, first I took over the broker role in the state of Kentucky, and we blew it out of the park. Fastest growing real estate firm ever to launch in the history of the state of Kentucky. And that record holds true in most states that EXP is in. Probably all the states, but I don't know that. So nobody quote me or, send me a nasty gram, because I don't know that. But with commercial, it's I always said in real estate, residential real estate, firms are tripping over each other, coming out with the latest and greatest, and really, but the commercial real estate, nobody's touched it. Nobody has revamped the model. In residential, you've got several companies with caps. You've got several companies with 100% splits, whatever the case might be. There's a lot more of a variety and a menu, so to speak. Right. In commercial, it's old school. You talk about dinosaur-esque. It's dinosaur-esque. Nobody has touched the commercial real estate brokerage model, period. You've got franchise model, you got mom and pop independents, and you've got some big boys. And when I say they're big boys, they are big boys because they're all boys. So that's what you've got in commercial real estate. So here was a way that we took the entire vision of Glenn Sanford and what he's done for us on the realty side of EXP Realty, where every agent becomes an owner of a multi-billion-dollar company with no debt. I mean, hello, everyone becomes an owner of a multi-billion-dollar company with absolutely no debt. Everybody gets to share in the revenue.
Most of them.
And profitability, exactly. everybody gets to have a share in the revenue, right? It's not all going up to the broker owner. It's all being shared with the agents, right? The agent owners. And then we have the ability for the accessibility of these amazing tools, CRM, lead generations, all of the things needed to build a business in real estate. And so we took the same exact vision and we flipped it on its head and said, we're going to do this on the commercial side. We are going to launch eXp Commercial, which is a separate brokerage from eXp Realty, but eXp World Holdings, our mothership parent company, owns both. So agent-owned commercial brokerage. When I talk to commercial brokers across this country, first things out of my mouth is, what do you pay your broker? And they're like, what? I go, well, you're so successful. Congratulations on that. But what'd you pay your broker? And I hear these exorbitant amount of money of $150,000, $70,000, $250,000, $500,000. We brought a team over to eXp Commercial last year. $4.8 million they paid their broker in split. Because
Wow.
They're inundated. They're 50-50 split, a 60-40 on a great day. But they don't even know what the word cap is,
right?
In when it comes to a cap. They go, well, what'd you pay your broker? And I said, 20 grand. Oh, but by the way, I icon, so I get all that back. They're like, what? So that's what we were able to do. And then put together a toolkit of technology so that we had the ability for any commercial practitioner, new, experienced, old, whatever the age bracket is, to come into this company and be able to produce and build their business and keep most of their money except for the 20 grand. And then, by the way, let's give them ownership as they transact. Let's give them the opportunity to share in the revenue for bringing their other commercial or, licensed real estate agents into the company. And so that's why. And then let's operate in a metaverse. But the most important thing goes back to exactly my story and why we were able to build this the way that we built this is because license portability is a real thing. This is not an eXp thing. License portability came about in 2006. Okay, you can go to NAR's website, you can go to Online CE's website, you can go to multiple different websites and read about license portability. But it's around for states, as long as the brokerage is open for business, they have license portability laws where the broker of record in that state can sponsor the transaction for another agent or broker that's not licensed in that state. And so there's rules attached to this. But the reason why other commercial practitioners don't know anything about this is because their firms don't talk about it. Because here's what you've got. Primarily, you've got a bunch of franchise models, which we're familiar with. We know what those mean. Franchise equals independently owned and operated. Independently owned and operated. So they've bought a territory and they've got a territory right. So they don't care about license portability because if a deal's going to happen in another territory, that franchise owner wants that deal and is going to demand that they take that deal. And that's exactly what happens. They don't get to do a fee split or a referral fee or this person keep the deal 100%. At eXp, we're able to do that. That's the big difference. And so for agents in commercial or brokers in commercial, they have clients that are operating in multiple states. They have clients that might own portfolios in multiple states.
Sure.
And for the first time, they can work with one agent, no matter if that transaction is in Florida, Wyoming, Kentucky, Ohio, wherever the case might be. And so that's why we're different. See, at eXp, we employ our state brokers. We employ them. They're on a paycheck. And so they're there to provide the service. But majority of people's brokers are the owner or the broker for just that one office. They're not scattered in all the 50 states. And that's why we can do this better than anybody else. And I think as time catches on, EXP Commercial's just about 2 years old. November 1st, it was 2 years old. But as time goes on, you're going to see exponential growth with this company, because as we are transitioning in this market, people are going to want to learn how to keep more money. The number one rule of being wealthy is not going out and making as much money as you can, right? Because people can make as much money as they can, and what can they do? Spend more than they make all the time.
Right.
Right? So I teach my kids this, and I live by this. Wealth is how much money you keep. It's how much money you keep. And here we're creating wealth in a commercial environment that has never existed, because we are empowering the commercial agent and broker to keep their money. And that's what they've got to start taking a look at.
It's so true. I want to come back to a word that you used, and I want to add clarity to make sure our audience understands what you're really saying. You use the word demand. The company can demand that you just give that business away to that brokerage, that franchisee in another state. Talk a little bit more about that. Put that down at third grade level on what that means. Because again, I bet most people don't understand that. And then contrast that to what we have at EXP Commercial today.
Yes. So in most franchise concepts, and let's pick on a company. Who do you want to pick on today, Tim?
Let's just say ABC Realty, the commercial big boy.
ABC Commercial Realty is a franchise model, and they are open in Chicago, Illinois, and they have bought the territory rights for all of Chicago. ABC Commercial has another franchise owner right here in our backyard, Louisville, Kentucky, and they own the territory rights for the deals in this marketplace, for the business in this marketplace. Agent in ABC Commercial Louisville has a client that is done purchasing multifamily here in Louisville. Now they want to expand. They want to go to Chicago as their next marketplace. Louisville ABC agent picks up the phone, calls the franchise of the sister company, ABC, in Chicago, and says, look, I've got a deal. Well, we own the territory here. That's our client. That's what happens.
So they give the deal to the Chicago franchisee, and no money trades hands back to the referring agent in Louisville, Kentucky. Correct?
That's right. That's right. And that's how a lot of companies operate. And that's scary. And, because why should that be the case? But a lot of those brands operate that way. I've attracted a lot of agents to EXP based on that concept alone, because it's happened to them.
Oh yeah. They're giving it away, getting nothing for it. I mean, that's a easy decision on why to join us. We're just right there.
Yeah. And because EXP is one brokerage, EXP in Chicago is the same as EXP in Louisville, Florida, wherever the case might be. It's just we have a broker in Illinois that's going to sign off on a form, but not take any of your commission.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how Stephanie Gilezan did $300 million last year. And didn't give any of it away.
There you go.
Let's move to your developer and builder expertise. Obviously, huge success there as well. Again, we're creating a mini series. We're going to do a show on each one of these topics. I guarantee we could spend 30, 40 minutes per topic, but talk about that. What have you done there? What projects do you have going right now?
I tell you, I've got the Breakers at Prospect, which is it is a luxury, super luxury development. I bought this, the last 50 acres in Jefferson County, so to speak, on the river, on the Ohio River. And when I bought this piece of property, I knew the exact vision that I wanted for it was a gated community, super luxury. I paid a premium for the property, so I had to charge a premium for the lots. And we started out the lots at 2.25, and they went all the way up to 500,000. I sold every one of those lots off of my vision that was on a sheet of paper right away. So now these houses are under construction in there that range from 2 million all the way up to, I think the most expensive as of today will be about 5.9 million in Louisville, Kentucky. It's beautiful. That's one of the ones that's well underway. I just finished putting in the infrastructure across the river in Utica, Indiana, which is 100 acres developed into 87 single-family luxury homes plus 24 maintenance-free living patio homes. Lot better on the lot prices, so it's going to be less. They'll all be, definitely under the $1 million price point. But again, luxury. I love the luxury market. I like building a good house. I care about architecture. And I don't know how to build cheap, but my building partner and I, we've done a great job at designing these plans that, they're each is their own, there's not one that's the same. So we pride ourselves in that. I'm working on some additional land in another county that I'll probably be able to talk about in a couple of weeks. But we've got a lot of growth happening in Kentucky. We've got a lot of manufacturing coming here. We've got some EV plants. We've got all kinds of things happening. So now I'm going to expand myself out into other parts of Kentucky as well, and do some development. So it's pretty fun. It's amazing because here's how I got into development, you all. So I did asset liquidations, and I don't know if you even knew this or not, but I did asset liquidations. When the economy crashed in 2009, a lot of developers and builders, they were out of business. I mean, they were done. And so all these banks had all this debt, and all of these developments that were maybe a third of the way done or halfway done, or some of them hadn't even gotten off the ground yet. And so I sold those for the banks. I mean, it was over 98 different projects throughout the city of Louisville and surrounding counties that I represented. And a lot of those, we had to do something different with them. We had to change their zoning. Their intended use needed to change to fit what was happening in the economy. So I got into developing because I then became that, I'm not going to say an expert, but really mastered the right way of bringing these projects back in a way that we could maximize the dollars for the bank, right? So that the bank didn't lose everything. And so I was doing this for the banks. And then as we got to the end of that, I was able to buy my first development. Instead of bringing it to market, I bought it. And then I had to go into the building business to get people to understand, yes, I know this subdivision sat there for 7 years and nobody did anything in it, but I took the risk and I picked up the phone. And even though I'd been around building for the last, 15 years prior to that, I hadn't built a house. And so I picked up the phone to some of these custom home builders that lost everything and couldn't get financing. There was no way for them to get back into business. And I said, listen, I have money. I own this subdivision. I need to revamp it. I need to show the market that it is going to be the place to live. I want to put you into the building business. We're going to split this company 50-50. I'm going to fund it. You're going to work there. You're going to build this house. You're going to teach me everything you know about building. And that's how I got into the building business.
Yeah. That's an awesome story. You basically gave hope back to the community again, confidence that that thing that died on the vine 3 years ago is got new life in it.
That's
I
right.
did some of that too, but I did it one house at a time for Fifth Third Bank. I was one of 2 agents that sold all of their REO inventory for several years, and we used to joke about it. It was lunch money, because the average sale price, unfortunately, came from the West End. At about $19,000 per shotgun house. So not a lot of commission in that, but a lot of volume.
A lot of volume, hey, and you learn, right? Learning experience.
Yeah, I probably did 60 REO transactions a year back in 07, 08, and maybe a little less in 09, and a couple less than 10, but good experience. Wow. Again, so much to talk about. And you didn't talk about your development on English Station.
That's right. We have got, I tell you what, it's so funny because, you look at a marketplace and you try to decide, okay, if you can buy the land right, what is the least we can build a very nice property for? And so out at the Reserve at English Station, these are patio homes that, everybody knows what's been happening. Building cost is up, labor cost is up. Things are hard to get. So it's hard to build right now. It's hard to build in a budget that everybody can afford. But what we've been able to pull off out at the Reserve of English Station are patio homes with a starting price of $449,900. We've got 8 different floor plans. We've got slabs. We've got walkout basements. We've put in a lake. It's gorgeous. But we've been able to do it at a more affordable cost instead of the breakers prices at the $2 million plus range. So yes, we can do affordable as well.
Yep. And that is a beautiful development. I've been out there many times, probably 6 or 7 times. So I actually considered it for a great deal as my next spot. But let's go to the market. We've talked, kind of hinted around it. The market's correcting. I don't believe it's receding. Prices have come down a little bit. We're still multiple offers in a lot of cases. Let's talk to the consumers about what to expect, and then let's leave the residential real estate agent. And I'll ask you to do the same on the commercial as well, but maybe the same answer, maybe not. Be curious to see what you say there. But let's talk to the consumer about the market, what it's like right now, what to expect, and what's Stephanie Gilezan's prediction on where it's going into 2023.
Absolutely. Well, when I got into real estate in 1999, the interest rates on a great day were 8.5%. So interest rates don't scare me, people. Okay. And this is what I say to my clients. I'm like, look, money is more to borrow right now, but you get it. You get it in a different way. So maybe you're not going to pay 75 or 100 grand or $500,000 over asking price, right? Of what everyone experienced in the last couple of years.
Right.
So you're going to pay it in the interest rate. Everything's all relative. I look at the interest rate as a tax write-off up into that certain amount anyway.
Right.
So, it's all relative. So never let that be the reason why you don't buy or you don't sell, because a good agent will get it sold and you will make that right buy. It's always about the property and when the opportunity comes available. That's what I'm always about. When is the opportunity going to come available? And if it's there and it's what I want, then I'm going to buy it regardless. And that's how the consumers need to be. And I think we've proven that. My team's proven that because we haven't slowed down at all yet. And we're still doing on both the residential team and the commercial team. We're still booming in business. 2009, when all of that occurred, because I'd gotten into real estate and everything was pretty much on this uphill climb. We got to 05 and 06 with the stated incomes, and man, you could sell anything, right? I mean, it was just like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah. You could fall, and then everything, you could borrow money back then.
Yeah. And then in 2009, I'll never forget this, but everything came tumbling down, 2008, 2009. And to be honest with you, Tim, I had one of my agents at Gilezan come to me and they said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can pay my mortgage. I don't know if I'm going to, survive this. And so I'm thinking of a way, because the answer is never be, do you need to borrow money? Because that's not the answer. I like to teach people on how to take that as an opportunity. And so there's no one more motivated than someone that needs to eat and pay their bills.
Yep.
And so I said, listen, I know how to do something. When I was in college, I was pre-law. I was political science degree. I ended up working in this law firm, and I didn't get to choose where I worked. They just picked us to do these, college internships, and we got paid a little bit of money to do it. And it was a learning experience for the law department. But I ended up in a debt negotiator attorney's office, like a debt collection attorney. So I'm sitting there and I'm faced with this awesome lady who's been in real estate a long time, who is worried sick, because she's never been through a market like what we were going to get in 2009. I said, look, this is what we're going to do. We are going to become the short sale queens of Louisville, Kentucky, and all surrounding counties. And this is how we're going to do it. We are going to find opportunity. We are going to make a killing. She never made more money in her entire real estate career than she did in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015 is when it was starting to fizzle out.
Yeah.
Doing short sales. And I tell people this all the time. Look up my numbers back then, because when you look at 300 closings a year, 400 closings a year, these were all bad debt negotiations. Mm-hmm. I took something that I fell into in college and hated it. I absolutely hated learning how to negotiate debt with credit card companies and lenders and all this stuff. How would I have ever known that that was going to be a saving grace for somebody else?
Yeah.
That also taught me something else, Tim, because I said, okay, if the same rule applies in residential, I'm going to do this in commercial real estate. And I did, and found out it was even easier. So here's your opportunity right now: residential, commercial. Look at deficiencies. Find out wherever you are, whatever county, whatever state you're in, find where you can look at deficiencies, where you can look where people have not been paying something, or maybe they've got a loan coming due. So if you're in commercial real estate and you're not with EXP, you need to subscribe to a few different platforms. If you join EXP, you get these with your monthly, but Reonomy is a great example. It's one of our tools at EXP. You can type in whatever property type, you could type in just in general, you can narrow it down in price point, whatever you want. You can filter this 1,800 different ways, but you can look and see who has a note coming due in the next 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, year, 18 months. And you pick up the phone because it's got their owner contact information. Okay, I've got a client right now. He wants multifamily properties. Can't find anything on the market. This is what I do. All right. It's in my calendar. This is what I do. Hey, Bob, Stephanie Gilezan here. I'm a real estate broker. I see that you own the apartment complex at 123 Main Street. Do you still own that? Yes, I do. I said, look, you have a note coming due. Have you had a recent valuation to make sure that the bank's going to approve you this time around, since the interest rates are much higher than when you got this note? Can we look at that together? Because I might have a strategy for you that you don't have to worry about that refinance. Think about that. I don't call and ask to list their property. I want to help them with their valuation. I want to see if it's possible, because this is where the interest rates become a little bit on our side, especially like the hotel industry, restaurants, whatever you're looking at. This is where it becomes that opportunity where you take that and make that your next sale, right? Whether you get the listing or you've already got that buyer lined up. This is how you do it. Majority of the time when I make those phone calls, Tim, they don't even know what I'm talking about. Their bank, they haven't calculated that their
5 notes due in 60 days,
or their 3-year arm, or their whatever arm is coming due. They don't even realize it. They didn't put it into their calendar. They haven't even gotten the notice from the bank. But now they need a resolution, and they are going to listen to you, because who calls with that script, right? And so, when we're looking at the deficiencies on the residential side back in the day, we did the exact same thing. Look, my name's Stephanie Gilezan. I specialize in helping homeowners in your situation. What is your plan? They don't have a plan, you all. They don't have a plan. But it was never, I want to list your property. It was never about me getting business. It was me trying to find the solution to help them. And that's why I asked what their plan was. So we are in a shifting, transitioning, whatever you call it. The definition for me and why we need corrections, right? The definition for what we're going into is the time of opportunity. I made bank between 09 and 15 like I'd never done before. That motivation was because an agent came to me in need and said, I don't know what to do. And I made a game plan that worked. It's still working today. and she's still prospering off of that today. That's what we're all about. That's what we're all about, is how do we take this opportunity and make it a flourishing of income opportunity. If you sit at home and you worry about it and you're like, oh, the news says this is happening and I'm not going to, everybody uses an excuse not to be successful. Find a reason why, right? Again, it goes back to the story. I didn't offer her to borrow money from me. I showed her how to make a living. And that's what we do every day at EXP. And it's my favorite thing about EXP, because it truly is that company of collaboration where you get to meet awesome people like Tim and myself, and 85,000 other ones that are even more interesting and better than us, Tim, right? Because we're not, there's tons of them.
Yeah,
but this is what we do. This is what we're doing every day, is having these conversations and learning from one another to be better in our market.
Yeah. Well, and for me, there's no greater feeling than to pour into an agent like the story you just described, and pouring into your female agent back in the Gilezan days, and changing her life.
Yeah. And it changed my life too. Yeah. It changed my life too, because, and I said, look, this is how this is going to work. This is your role in this. This is what I expect you to do on all of these deals. This is what you're responsible for. This is what I am responsible for. And we're splitting it 50-50, right? Yeah. Because there's nothing here for free, but it works. Genius.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully it won't be as bad as those times. And I don't think it will, but that's super phenomenal advice. And I've just decided we're going to do a whole show just teaching agents how to do that, because there's so much value there to the agent. It's incredible. So are you okay with me sharing your contact information on screen?
Please do. Absolutely. Okay. Reach out to me. One of the things that you always have to remember in this business is that you got to give people the time of day. It's how I built my business, and it's how I still continue to be. So please share my contact information.
Yeah. Well, it's scrolling there. Hopefully that's all correct. I believe it is.
It is.
And in the meantime, I just want to say to the real estate agent population, whether you're residential or commercial, walk through the door, at least learn what EXP has to offer you. More importantly, your family.
Yeah. And also too, before you say, oh no, I'm not going to even walk through that door. You got to walk through the door, and let's teach you how to keep your money. That's the main thing. Before you focus on how do I earn more, let's first teach you how to keep your money.
Absolutely. It blows me away when an agent just says, no, not interested. And I want to say I don't, but I want to say, how do you know you're not interested? You don't even know what I'm about to tell you yet. You don't know what you don't know. But agents out there, if you're interested in just learning, no pressure. Stephanie's not going to high pressure you. I'm not going to high pressure. If you want to learn about EXP Realty or EXP Commercial, reach out to either one of us. If you're a client watching the Tim Hollenden Show, thank you. We appreciate your support. Stephanie and I are here to help you in the Louisville real estate market and beyond. I'm licensed in Indiana, Kentucky, and Alabama, where I actually am now. It's 76 and sunny. And I'm being a snowbird this year, but I'll be back next week for the Christmas holiday. And thank you so much, Stephanie. This has been a joy. I knew it would be. And I've got so many ideas for all of our next mini series shows that we're going to be able to do together. Any closing remarks that you would like to say?
Hey, anybody reach out to Tim. I love having one-on-ones. And, even if it's just I want to pick your brain. There's a lot of agents in the entire spectrum of this globe that pick my brain all the time, whether they're at EXP or not at EXP. We're only better together, and you've got to respect one another, and I'm happy to have any conversations.
Absolutely. And collaboration is always better than competition. So
100%.
Stephanie, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and look forward to doing it again next time.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.